Today's verse of the day has a nice little path to wander down. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which also you were called in one body, and be thankful. The word let indicates we have a choice to make. We have control over this, whether or not we have the peace of God in our hearts. So I went over and looked up the word peace to see what it's talking about. Here I have highlighted that it properly means wholeness. For example, when all essential parts are joined together, peace, God's gift of wholeness. So it says, let God's gift of wholeness rule in your hearts. And when we look up the Messianic word peace, which we know to be shalom, and it talks about wholeness, it reiterates and confirms that that means body and spirit. And here, of course, it shows that we're talking about a common Jewish farewell, the Hebraistic sense. Not that I did well in highlighting that, but there you go. The other thing that stood out to me was here, when we looked at heart, it says choice, desire, decisions. Here in the heart is where our choices are made. And this is where the desires of our hearts are established, right here. And it ties in together very well with the beginning of the statement, which says, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts. So choices, we really do have the free will to decide our relationship with God. We have a free will to decide to have a relationship with Him. And then when we do have the relationship with Him, we get to have the relationship we want. We decide and choose what kind of relationship we want. And here he gives us, this little section of the chapter, the character of the new man. It's talking about put on tender mercies and kindness and humility and meekness and yada, yada, yada. And it says, and let the peace of God rule. All these things we can choose to put on or take off and walk in it or not walk in it. So we really get to decide how much of this new character we want to have as a man or woman of God. Interesting. Just thinking on the word let really stood out to me, and the fact that we have a choice. It is all about our free will, and he does not cross over on that. But understanding that if we choose not to do this, then we have the consequence of that as well, which means not wholeness.